Well, good morning, everybody. It's been a couple of weeks since I made a video, and I wanted to come on today and just cover a couple things that the Lord has been teaching me. I have often shared with you that I've been going through the Torah, the first five books of the Bible. I am now two chapters away from finishing the book of Joshua, and we'll be going into Judges next, which will be a good study. But I have gone through a huge change. I made the move a couple weeks ago to move out of Florida. I was in Southwest Florida and move up to Ashland, Virginia. So I packed up what I could in my car and I packed up my dog and headed 972 miles north. And I just wanted to kind of share a few things that the Lord has been dealing with me with because I am convinced I am not unique in the way that things happen to me that don't happen to other people. So I kind of wanted to share some things with you today. The first is kind of a continuation of the last video when I talked about fear and yareh and how the word yareh means you shall fear the Lord, and it means to give him honor or to worship him or to admire him, to esteem him, lift him up, give him value. And I've been thinking about that a lot because I realized that as I moved north, I fought a lot of fear, not fear of the Lord, just fear in general. Would I stop at the rest stop, leave my dog in the car, and leave the keys in the car and not be able to get back in the car? Would I get lost? Would I come up here and not know what I was doing? Would I have enough to be provided for? Was my money going to stretch far enough? And there was a lot of fear. And as I kept pondering on that word, yareh, it means to give honor to give credence to give voice to. And I realized that my battle had to be to fight against that fear because what I was doing was I was doing what God had told me not to do, which was to yareh my enemies. Do not put them in a position of power over me. Do not give them credence. Do not give them value. Do not place them as something that holds worth because it's not true. And so I had to keep reminding myself to not give it more than just that dropped seed into my mind. And then I had to immediately say, no, I yareh Yahweh, I yareh the Lord, not any voice that happens to come to me with shortcomings or possible fears in this world. So that was the first thing I had to deal with. The second thing I wanted to talk about was when we make a change, any kind of change, it is going to come with a cost, even if it's a good change. I know in my heart that the Lord called me to this place. He provided a beautiful place for me. It's like a mother-in-law apartment on a gorgeous $1 million home. And I have my own entrance and I have big sliding doors that look out into 4 wooded acres. And there's a pool at my disposal for the summer. And the list goes on and on with things. The rent is cheaper. The utilities are cheaper. It's a half an hour from my sister. So I knew that this was a good thing for me. But again, fear. And my fear shifted from the physical fear to a spiritual fear. Because, see, when I was in Florida, I had a routine. Every morning I got up and I walked my dog, and I'd shared that with you. And as I walked, I would pray up a storm and I would put on the armor of God and I would just come back and I would do my Bible study. And everything was very regimented. And I felt like I was in a really good spot with the Lord. If I was tired at night, I would just put on some worship music. I was in my groove. I was at my best spiritually. And then I got on the road and I got up here, and my sister, brother-in-law, and nephew met me at the house, and they were carrying in furniture that she had obtained for me, which I'm very thankful for. And I didn't know where anything was, and I couldn't figure out how to do anything, and everything I reached for, I didn't have. And I ran back and forth to Walmart about 18 times over the first 6 days, just getting everything that I needed to make this place so that it was livable and I could survive. And when I went to walk the dog, I thought, this is wonderful. I have these beautiful woods to walk in and country streets. And I walked down the street, and this huge, big golden doodle thing comes running at me, touches the backs of my legs. I'm not afraid of dogs, but my dog is reactive, and he went ballistic. And he was barking and clawing, and I had to lift him up in my arms and carry him for about a half a block to get him out of the range of this dog. And so I was all shook up about that. It just seemed like nothing was as it was. So I would find myself coming home after my walks, and I would think, well, I didn't put on the armor of God. Oh, that's great. And I don't even have peanut butter in the house. I need to go to the store. I need to get some food. And so I didn't have my big Bible study time like I had had before. And then I had, where I would go a whole day without listening to my Bible study. And so at night, I'd be sitting there thinking, you got to do this, Cindy, because, you're falling apart. And so I had to wrestle through that because my life was not as it was. And I had convinced myself that if I wasn't doing those things, I love these air quote things, if I wasn't doing those things, that I must not be as close to the Lord. So I would spend my time weeping and crying. And I'm saying, I'm sorry, Lord, please don't leave me. I'm still the bride. I'm still in love with you. I'm just a mess. I'm just a hot mess. And that went on for several days. And then I got to the place where I was like more confident taking the dog. And I was like, okay, I'm putting on the spiritual armor. And I'd get about halfway through, and then I'd see a squirrel. And it would be like, now I've forgotten, where was I again? What was I trying to do? In other words, my spirituality was becoming half do's, Martha's, rather than Mary's. And I found myself trying to live up to my own expectations of what I should be doing instead of just allowing myself to sit at the feet of Jesus. And I've got to tell you, I'm still in that place. I'm still wrestling through that. I keep praying every day, please don't leave me. I'm sorry. I'm not doing it like I was before. I still love you. I just don't know how to mentally compartmentalize everything that's going on in my life right now, but I have not forgotten you. And so I went back to Deuteronomy again. And in Deuteronomy 6, it says in verse 5, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and mind and your soul and your strength and your entire being. And I didn't see in those verses where it said, you shall walk your dog in the morning and put on the armor of God, and then you shall come back and do your Bible study and open to verse such and such. And so I had to learn, and I'm still learning, to give myself permission to just be. Some of the greatest teaching that he gives us is through our Nephesh. I don't know if I've used that word before, Nephesh. It means your living experience. And I stop and I think about it, and I realize that the spiritual lessons that I'm getting right now are through my Nephesh, through my living experiences, through the things that are going around about me. One of the things that I have had to fight this last year is being financially stable. I have had a rough year. And when my sister suggested that I move up north, I just thought, I can't get from point A to point B. I just don't have the resources. And once I get there, I have no furniture. I have nothing. But God has shown me through my Nephesh, through my living experience, how He has provided for my journey in ways that are supernatural to me that I could not have asked for or even anticipated. And as I sit here, I think it's like 10 days since I got here, I can really see how God has just brought all things together for my good. And I think of the illustration that I had several videos ago about as we pray and we put the word in, how it's like accumulating spices in our cupboard. I don't know if you remember that. And what I've had to do these last 10 days is to take the spices off the cupboard. I've had to realize that I have to draw on what is in there because I'm doing the best I can. And that became my prayer all the time. I'm just doing the best I can. And so I went back to that verse and then I went to another verse and it says, listen obediently, pay attention to my commands, to love the Lord your God and to serve him with your heart and your soul and your mind. And that's again in Deuteronomy 11. And I realized that it was no coincidence at all that my journey in the Word has been the journey of the Israelites as they went from Egypt and the slavery they were in into the promised land. And the book of Joshua teaches us how they went into the land and how they spent almost 7 years destroying the enemies that were there before they finally got rest. But in each one of those battles, God did that work. And it's really a beautiful picture if we look at it of how the Lord Jesus will take care of the enemies at the end of the age. Because the Bible points out a lot of the battles that they fought, but they were fighting against hundreds of thousands of people. These were not Joshua's battles, these were the Lord's battles. And God would indicate where the people should go, but it was God Himself who made the walls fall. And when you look at Rahab, who was saved as the entire wall fell, except for the one apartment that she lived in, how can we ever question His ability to take care of us? So, those are the lessons that I'm learning in my Nephesh, in my living experience. That my job isn't to go out and put on the armor of God and pick up the sword of the Spirit and just fight my battles. I need to stay with the Lord, doing the best I can, loving Him with my whole heart, my whole soul, and my whole mind. And I'll tell you, it's not easy. It's not easy because there's so many distractions. I mean, my sister came over the other day, wonderful, wonderful person, my best friend. And she's like an interior decorator. And I'm kind of more like a get her done kind of thing. And she was measuring for curtains and helping me do this and helping me do that. I was exhausted. I was totally exhausted. But those kinds of things, as necessary as they are, I kept thinking of the Israelites when they went out and they had to keep setting up the tabernacle over and over and keep setting up their houses over and over. They weren't sitting there at Moses's feet going over the commandments over and over. What they were doing was they were putting into action the things that they had been taught so that they could use them in their nephesh, in their living experiences. Another thing I want to point out, and this is just kind of a potpourri kind of thing, is did you know that Moses was given the commandments and given the word? And then again at the end of the book, there before Moses died, he went through all the commandments and all the things again. And then Joshua picked up and he went through the commandments again. And then at the end of Joshua, we have him going through the commandments again. Why? Because the people need a reminder. They need a reminder that he is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And what we need to do is we need to make sure that we are going over those things and putting the word in over and over, because our life is not sitting around reading the word all the time. We need to develop balance. So many of us are either trying and striving so hard to make sure that we get the Bible that says through the Bible in 1 year, do this devotion, do this, do that. No, keep feeding the word in. Keep regurgitating it, keep meditating on it over and over, because then when you go out and you have those times where you are in your nephesh, you are in your living experience, and you are taking care of the life He has given us here, you may draw on those things. And so that's what I'm learning. I'm learning how to draw on what He's already put in, and I'm learning to relax and to trust him more. It's not dependent on what I'm doing or what I'm reading or who I'm talking to or how much I'm praying. It is a development of a relationship with him where I can trust him. He is my betrothed. He is my husband. He will take care of me. And I am doing the best I can here. And sometimes it's probably not enough, but he knows my heart. When my husband was alive, he knew my heart. I loved that man and I trusted him to take care of me, and he did. And it's the same thing with our Heavenly Father as we just trust him to take care of us. I would love to sit here and say, I have all the answers and I've got it all together, but I wanted to give you one more story. Again, living in our Nephesh. When I left home, it was 83 degrees. When I got up here, it was 40. When I woke up this morning, it was 28 degrees. That's the coldest weather we've had this season. Now, first of all, I'll just take a little side trip and say, I love it. I have been hot and humid for so many years that I got up here. I got myself a great coat at Costco and I went out and I took a walk in these woods and I loved it. And I feel so good. And it's such an encouragement to me to see the squirrels and see the trees and the leaves dropping and all that stuff. But it was 28 degrees. And I got up this morning and it was cold in the house. And I went to flip the kitchen light on and it didn't go on. And I looked over at the microwave and there were no little blinking lights. My power was out. So I wrote a quick note to the lady who owns the main house. And she said, yes, it's out all over. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's not good. Because when the power goes out here and it's 28 degrees outside, guess what happens inside? It starts to get colder and colder. So I got my little blankie and I got my dog, put him next to me, and he's not much body heat at all. 12 pounds is nothing. And I sat there and I went online and it said that heat would be restored or power would be restored between 10 and 1 today. And at this time it was 7:30 this morning. And I thought, well, this is horrible. I just really don't like this. I can't do anything because I'm too cold to do anything. And I had my sweater like this and I was trying to play a game on my phone and I had to find myself sticking this one little finger out because it wouldn't work with it inside the sweater. That's how desperate I was. And I was sitting there and I was cold and I thought, oh, I'll make some hot chocolate. Oh, no microwave, no hot water. Nope, no good. So I got another blanket and I sat there and I thought, it's got to be 30 degrees in here because I'm just miserable. And I'm going somewhere with this. So all of a sudden, I'm sitting here and I'm playing games on my phone. And I had installed one of those little Bible apps on my phone like a few days ago. And the Bible app popped up and it just gave me this verse or this thing. And it said, do not worry. Everything's going to be okay. Just pray. And I was like, oh, well, I hadn't done that. Okay, I've been a Christian 40 years. And I had to have my Bible app tell me that I should pray. And so I kind of shrugged and I said, okay, God, I'm praying. I'm cold and I'm miserable. And I would appreciate it if you could turn the electric back on so I could have heat and have breakfast besides Cheerios. And I heard this click and I thought, wow, wouldn't that be amazing? What a story this will be. I'm just going to jump on the video right away and I'm just going to say, I prayed, and immediately, poof, the electric came on. And it didn't come on. And I sat there and I thought, well, what am I trying to prove with this? What is the lesson here? Is the lesson that God knows how to turn the electric on? Is God just going to turn it on because I say so? So I had to examine myself and I'm like, why didn't I pray? Why wasn't that the first thing that came to my mind? I watch a video, We Are the Overcomers. And every time he takes a drink of water, he goes, thank you, Abba. And I'm thinking, man, that is so awesome. He's just, thank you, Abba. He's just thanking God no matter what he's doing. And I thought, I need to be like that, where my every thought is so tuned into him that I never have to worry about anything. But I sat here for an hour and a half, almost 2 hours in the cold, and never thought to pray. So I prayed and I was kind of mulling that over. And I thought, well, the story isn't can God turn it on or can God turn it on when I pray? The story is you have not because you ask not. And my mind was, why didn't I think of doing that? So that was kind of my lesson. And then 2 minutes later, the power came on. And I just said, thank you, Abba. Thank you, Abba. Because he is capable. Now, was it a coincidence? I don't think so, because he doesn't do coincidences. But what he's doing is he's teaching me, which is the whole point of this video, through my Nephesh, through my living experience, not through my times of deep devotion and prayer, not through my times of studying his word and looking up word studies and doing all these things. Those things are important. We need to feed ourselves to take on that daily bread. But we also need to cut ourselves some slack and ask him. And I remember walking the dog a few days ago and saying, I just can't do it right now. Bring out some of those spices off of the shelf. Remember some of those hidden things that I have learned in your word and apply them to me now when I'm just struggling to stay and maintain. And that's what he's been doing. And that's what I want to encourage you with is right now, if you go on any site, you're going to be bombarded with study Bibles and through the Bible in 1 year and pray this and pray that. Why do you think I downloaded the prayer app? Because I just felt like I had to do something. Martha was in full swing mode. Got to do something to earn that. But I don't. Because right here on my forehead is the name Yeshua. And right here in my heart is his seal that I am his. He knows me. He knows what I'm doing. He's got me. I don't need to prove it. I don't need to earn it. I don't need to look forward to my report card to see if I've done enough. I just need to keep going in what he's given me. I am getting back into my studies, and I get back into them because I love them. I love the Old Testament. I can't wait. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges next. I can't tell you how long it's been since I have gone through the book of Judges and Samuel and all that. It's been ages, and I'm looking forward to it. And then I've got Ruth. Ooh. So as long as I'm here, I'll continue to do that. But meanwhile, what he's teaching me through my Nephesh is just love him with all my heart, with all my soul, with all my mind. And then depend on him to teach me through my Nephesh, through my living experiences. I'm loving being up here. I've got a couple studies that I do want to do, and I keep, again, pushing myself. You got to get it done. You got to get it done. But there's a point where he just says, be still and know that I am God. So I guess this is for all those who are going into the holidays and are just going in 16 directions and are trying to make this life that he has given us a balancing act. And I don't believe it's a balancing act. I believe it's a letting go act. I believe it's just a time of allowing our faith to grow through our Nephesh, through our living experiences. Don't forget about him. Do what you can that is going to feed you, but don't be a Martha. Take those times of worship, those times of being, those times of just breathing and saying, I can't do anymore. My brain is fried, and I just need you to just hold me. So here I am in Richmond, Virginia, and I am enjoying it very much. And for those who did pray for me, I thank you for that. And I will get again with you soon. But I hope that this just little potpourri of little tidbits that he has been teaching me is something that maybe there's a nugget in there for you as well. God bless you, my friends.